Shit from O-A-K-L-A to L-B, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? Hope everyone had an awesome weekend. To make sure that you're staying up to date on the latest news and rumors, and on today's show, we're going to have some juicy freaking rumors here. Hit that big red button that says subscribe. We're also going to be talking a lot about free agency, draft, trades, and a lot more. So hit that big red button underneath this video. Over the weekend, I asked y'all, should I do a Super Bowl 55 watch party? 55% of the vote said yes, 45% of the vote said no. Here's the thing. I have to come to work no matter what on Sunday, and my bosses at Chat Sports told me either A, you do a watch party with Raider Nation for the Super Bowl 55, or you're just going to make a whole bunch of other NFL videos. So guess what I'm doing? I'm going to be doing a watch party. Start time, 6:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:20 p.m. Pacific. Join me. We're going to hate watch against cheating Tom Brady and the freaking Kansas City Chiefs. The Super Bowl that nobody wanted, but we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some drinks. So seriously, hopefully everyone joins me, and let's get a little bit wild. All right, let's get into today's show here because some random guy on Twitter with a blue check mark, because if you have a blue check mark, everything you say is true, right? Like, you can't see anything false on the internet. Evan Macy says, count the Raiders among the teams who will have interest in Odell Beckham Jr. If the Browns indeed to make him available, they'll be shopping for an upgrade at wide receiver this offseason. I saw this tweet, and then I see all these articles and all these videos that start popping up. I'm like, all right, I have to go and give my 2 cents on this. So is OBJ coming to the Las Vegas Raiders? It is one Chucky head, small shred of truth. I'm going to say like less than 1% chance of happening. So obviously when the report came out, I was like, okay, everyone's going to connect every single wide receiver to the Raiders because Jon Gruden just loves everyone and he wants a true number one. I get that. The other thing is this. The Raiders have been, in quotes, interested in Odell Beckham Jr. for like 3 years now. I would be absolutely shocked if this deal ever happened. Should the Raiders go out and do it? I'm going to tell you coming up here in just a little bit. So let's first look at OBJ's 2020 stats. This is in 7 games. 23 catches, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, and targets like 43. Was not that great. How about 2019? Okay, he played 16 games for the first time in basically 3 years, 74 grabs, over 1,000 yards, a productive 14 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns. How about when he first went to the Cleveland Browns back in 2018? This is in 12 games. Pretty productive stats again, 77 catches, over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. When you think of the name of Odell Beckham Jr., you still think of that number 1 star receiver making ridiculous highlight catches. My only concern is this. That might not be the OBJ we have anymore. So on today's show, I'm going to make this the pinned comment. So every single person that comes across this video on YouTube, I want you to go to the pinned comment, the very first one that you see on this video, and let me know. Should the Raiders trade for OBJ? Type OBJ for yes or no BJ for no. And I hope every single person types no BJ because this trade makes no sense for the Las Vegas Raiders. He missed 9 games in 2020 due to an ACL, and really, ever since that whole ankle injury, he just hasn't had the same burst of the Odell Beckham Jr. that we saw when he first started out with the New York Giants. I think he would be an absolute nightmare in the locker room. I think he'd be a nightmare in Las Vegas if we're being real. And why trade for a player like Beckham when you can go out and sign somebody in free agency, receivers who are simply probably better at this point in their career? So every single time the name Odell gets brought up, I think this is the issue. You still think of the guy that played for the Giants, the guy that had ramen noodles for hair, and in those first 3 years, he was one of the best receivers that I've actually ever seen. I mean, 288 catches, 4,122 yards, 25 touchdowns his first 3 years. But I don't care about the first 3 years. I care about the last 4 years where 199 catches, 16 touchdowns. So basically, you're going to tell me you're going to get about 50 catches for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's what he's been averaging the last 4 years. Injuries have been really, really racking up. The other reason why I'm not going to do it is because if the Browns, let's say, want to move on from OBJ, they want to trade him, you're dumb if you're an NFL team to go out and do this because let's just say the Browns don't want to keep OBJ, they can get rid of him. And with a $0 dead cap hit if he is released, okay, then you can just go out and sign him. I am not going to go out and trade for a player like Beckham who is going to bring a lot of issues in the locker room, is not a number 1 receiver anymore, and has not been able to stay healthy. So when you look at all these numbers, Plus, I ain't paying Odell Beckham $15 million a year. Sorry, it's not going to happen. So every single time you see some trades being brought up, I do think that one of the biggest controversies that gets talked about is what exactly is that player worth? What would you give up for Odell Beckham Jr. in a trade? I think last year we threw out the numbers of a first, a second-round pick, and I actually think that's what the Browns would want, a higher draft pick. So go down in the comments section, let me know, what do you think Odell Beckham Jr. is worth in a trade? Name value, what he'd be able to bring in terms of sales, that's great. However, in terms of on-the-field production, I'm not giving up anything more than a day 3 pick. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, wow, that is some pretty hot takey stuff. There's already been reports that he could be potentially done for his career. That I don't really think is true because he's still only 27 years old. But he's coming off major injuries. And I'm not going to give up a first, a second, or third round pick. Hell, I probably don't even give up a fourth round pick. If you want to give me OBJ and I got to pay $15 million, I'm willing to then to give up that 5th, 6th, 7th round draft pick. But at the end of the day, it's not the biggest need. And for a Raiders team that still needs to be able to build that defense, and if you do really honestly need a true number 1, it's not Odell Beckham Jr. I think we can all agree on that, right? Right? Hey, I got a new sponsor on today's show. Shout out to Pro Flowers. And if anybody wants to get set up with this awesome deal I got going on, 15% off flowers and gifts at the link that you see below, chatsports.com/flowers. Valentine's Day. It is creeping up on us, y'all. And don't be that guy that didn't get your mom, your girlfriend, your daughter something special. Heck, anybody that you care about. That's what this time of the year is all about. So chatsports.com/flowers. That link is going to be available in the description and in the comments. But I know their name's Pro Flowers. They also are professionals at a lot of other awesome gifts here. Don't be like me. I'm not the best at finding gifts for my mother or my girlfriend. Leave it up to the professionals. You want a special spa day box? They got you set up. Chocolates. They got plenty of chocolates. There's no doubt about that. Awesome different styles of flowers, bouquets, charcuterie boards. I mean, these guys have it all. So 15% off all flowers and gifts. Chatsports.com/flowers. You have to go use that link or else you're not going to save any money. So chatsports.com/flowers. Valentine's Day. It is creeping up. All right, y'all. So what's the next thing that we're going to talk about here on today's show? More news, more rumors. That's what we like to do this part of the season because February 1st, we're just trying to keep you updated a little bit. So the second part of that whole rumor of OBJ was the Raiders being interested in upgrading at wide receiver. This one's for Chucky heads, believe it, baby. But I'm not saying that they're going to go out and trade for an OBJ. I'm simply just saying that they are doing their job. And as soon as an NFL team stops trying to upgrade at a position because they think that they're good, those people should be fired. Last week, Mike Mayock simply talked about if we can upgrade at a position, we are going to do it. And that's why that this, I think, whole story is getting blown out of proportion a little bit. So as it stands right now, this is the Raiders wide receiver depth chart. As you can see, Nelson Agholor and then Zay Jones, they're the two receivers set to hit free agency. Then you got Keelan Doss and Trey Quinn who are on their futures contracts, which means once free agency hits, this is what the Raiders depth chart is going to end up looking like. You have Henry Ruggs, Bryan Edwards, Hunter Renfrow. I know that this is basically what the Raiders started out with when the season started. However, I would be lying to say that this would bring a lot of confidence to me, and I actually think it wouldn't bring a lot of confidence to y'all either if this was our starting wide receivers. So in terms of being interested in going out and finding somebody else, yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of talented receivers in free agency, which is why the Raiders should go out and look at it. However, if you're going to spend, let's say, $15 million on a player like OBJ, and you got to give up draft capital, why in the hell would you do that when you can go out and sign one of these 5 players? In terms of just talent and talent alone, A-Rob, Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, Will Fuller, Juju Smith-Schuster are all better at this point in their career than Odell Beckham Jr. Sure, you're going to have to pay A-Rob $20 million. I'll pay A-Rob $20 million before I pay OBJ $15. Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, they're probably going to be in the $17, $18 million a year range. I'd rather do that. Will Fuller, Juju Smith-Schuster. I've said multiple times that I do not want the Raiders to sign Juju. I would rather them sign Juju than trade for OBJ. Here are some other free agent wide receivers in 2021. Maybe you don't want to spend all that money because I still don't think that receiver is the biggest need for this team. But if you at least need to upgrade, here are some players that are pretty solid bang for your buck. Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, Marvin Jones. If you want to give one of these dudes a contract about $9 million a year, I'd be a lot more open to that. And then Nelson Agholor. The biggest reason why I think this whole OBJ rumor started to pop up is because of all the drama around Agholor. And if you guys haven't seen this yet, I talked about it on Friday. Please go check out the video. I really broke everything down. So originally, the report was that Agholor told teammates that they sucked after the loss to the Dolphins. It's not 100% true. A few other players have come out and said that Nelson Agholor would never do that. Guys like Daryl Worley, Todd Gurley, not even a guy on the Raiders, but it said Agholor's not that type of dude. Max Crosby then clarified and said Agholor did come in after the Week 16 loss, and he did express a lot of his frustrations. However, if you're not frustrated after blowing basically a touchdown lead with 19 seconds left, those aren't the kind of people that I want in my locker room. Was he mad and upset? Yes. Did he say they sucked? No. He basically was saying, we need to win that football game, and for us not being able to win that, I am very frustrated. So some of his words were twisted and not quite in the right place, but the biggest reason why this whole OBJ interested in wide receiver rumors are because it's around Nelson Agholor and whether or not the Raiders are going to bring him back. So who's the better receiver? Not just overall talent, but the issue I think a lot of us face here is instead of just looking at who's the better receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders? Who's going to help this team win more football games in 2021? Is it Nelson Agholor? I want you to type 15. Or is it Odell Beckham Jr.? Type 13. I'm typing my 15 for Nelson Agholor, and honestly, if you'd ask me who's the more talented guy at this point in their career, I actually might say Agholor because he can at least stay on the football field where OBJ couldn't. If you're going to go out and pay Nelly, you do it, right? $10 million, $9 million, that's still a little bit too rich for me. But if your idea is going out and honestly trying to get OBJ for 15, I'd actually rather have Nelson Agholor for $15 million than OBJ for $15 million because you still have to give up then some draft capital. But if at the end of the day, all you need to do is find a receiver, and if it comes down to Nelson Agholor or Odell Beckham Jr., you're going to go out and get Nelson Agholor. Now, both of those players, solid. Do I really want Nelly for that much? Probably not. But we are going to be keeping you guys updated here on some more free agents and news, rumors, and if there's any more talk around OBJ, I'll do my best to keep you guys updated. So please hit that big red button and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow for my live show, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific.